My name's Greg Pollock of Gladiator Strength and Conditioning at the famous Terrian Jiu-Jitsu and Kickboxing Dojo.
Hi Greg, how long have you been involved in weightlifting?
I've been involved in weightlifting I'm going on pretty much my 41st year of weightlifting. I started out when I was about 14 years old, and I've continued ever since.
So what got you into it?
What got me into lifting was when I was younger, I was a multi-sport athlete, very good athlete, but I was small and skinny. And with the influence of my father, who was a very good athlete, and my older cousin, a football player, they both encouraged me to get into weightlifting and getting stronger to be able to compete with the bigger kids that I was playing against.
Who was the first athlete you trained?
The first athlete that I trained was Mark Tevens, who was a very good friend of mine growing up. He was an elite hockey player playing for the Peterborough Petes in the OHL. He was 18 years old. He knew that I was heavily into weightlifting, and it was his NHL draft year, and he needed to put some size on. So he approached me and said, "Greg, can you train me? I need to put some size on. The scouts are all telling me I got to get a little bigger and a little stronger. I'm going into my NHL draft year. Can you help me?" And of course, being one of my best friends, I said yes, for sure. And we trained for about 4 to 5 months, the spring and the summer. Ended up putting about 22 pounds of muscle on him, got him much, much stronger. He went out that year, had his best year with well over 120 points, I think it was. He set records for the Peterborough Petes. He was at the top of the scoring in the OHL, and he has a record till this day of 90 assists. And he ended up being drafted 64th overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And from that moment on, because of his actions, gave me the confidence to be able to get into coaching later in life. And unfortunately, Mark passed away in 1998, and I honor his memory in my logo by putting the date 1984, the year that I trained him.
What type of people do you train?
Here at Gladiator Strength and Conditioning, because of the vast people that I've learned from, the vast sports, we get all kinds of people in here, all different ages, all different body types, all different sizes, people with experience lifting, people that have never lifted before. Everyone is welcome. We start them out from scratch if we have to, and build them up accordingly, step by step. We don't just throw people into the fire and leave them on their own. They're coached every day. I make sure that technique is always first. And so we get people of all different levels here at the gym.
What sets Gladiator apart from other gyms?
I think what sets Gladiator apart from the other gyms is being in a dojo type atmosphere. We're in the Terrian Jiu-Jitsu and Kickboxing. The atmosphere in here is very different from other places. The people in here are very different. It's a very positive, motivating place, and you're constantly being coached, you're constantly being encouraged, and we have great programs that will help just about anyone.
How long have you been in this gym in particular?
In Terrian Jiu-Jitsu and Kickboxing, we've been here since 2011.
And how did you learn so much about strength training?
Learning so much about strength training, I've been pretty lucky about that. Back when I was first starting out, I was training at the Ottawa Athletic Club back in the early 80s, and it was like a perfect storm of all the world's top instructors happened to be training there, and a lot of them were extremely nice to help out a younger guy like myself. There was the Canadian bobsled team that I got to train with. There was Canadian rugby team members. There was professional football players, professional baseball players, professional hockey players. There was Olympic lifters. There was power lifters. There was bodybuilders, and then there was just the recreational lifter. But we had a really nice culture in there where the older guys would take us younger guys and help us out and teach us about lifting properly.
How do you decide on what equipment to get for your gym?
A couple of times a year, I head out for internships and learning from other gyms. I truly believe that you can never stop learning, never stop growing. So I get around to different gyms, some of the best gyms in the world, and I've observed their equipment, and I tend to see the same equipment at all the best places. So I kind of tried to model my gym after a couple of those gyms down in the States, a couple in particular down in Connecticut. Ben Prentice, he's the top NHL strength trainer, and Eric Cressy down in Boston, who tends to train all the top Major League Baseball players. They all have similar equipment, and you'll see the same type of equipment in here.
Can you tell me what kind of different programs you offer?
I got a wide variety of different programs here. I have group training for people that just want to get in and work out. We've got a high-intensity circuit type training, which is great for everybody of all ages and all skill sets. I've got a strength training program as well, where we get into a little more of the lifting, the power lifts, the Olympic lifts, but again, it's for everybody. And then I have my athletic specific programs, where I train all the different sports, from hockey players that are 9-10 years old, baseball players 9-10 years old, all the way up to college, and on the hockey side up to Junior A, OHL, NCAA, and the pros. So we basically have programs for everybody. It's all unique, and it's all programmed to suit your needs. Here at Gladiator, we've got a nice variety of different athletes. I'm really proud of the progress of all of my athletes. What I can tell you is that the athletes that train here, especially the hockey players, they all test at the top of their strength and conditioning. I've had guys that have finished #1 at combines, and also worldwide combines in the top 10. I've got athletes that are college baseball players to competitive baseball players. I've trained professional baseball players. I've got NCAA lacrosse players. I've got the Canadian men's javelin champion, Rowan Allen. Very proud about that as well. I've got guys preparing for their fights, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitors, lots of hockey players, like I said, lots of baseball players. I've got numerous football players that have now entered the university ranks, which I'm very proud of as well. And yeah, so a bit of every sport, but I think I would say the main sports are hockey and baseball and a bit of football. But you know, the fight game, getting into that a little more. Got some great women athletes as well. I have Sandra, who is a world competitor at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I had Tess Foreman, who is the first woman to ever pitch in a men's university baseball game. Hannah Martinson, who was with the Women's Team Canada Baseball and won a bronze at the World Championships. And some great women fighters, Amanda Weaver, Serena Moffitt. So very proud of all of my athletes, from the younger ones to the older ones. We have them all here.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, basically, you know, I'd like to invite people in who haven't trained with me before. Also, the people that have trained with me before that have left and gone on to work and haven't been able to get back in. If you can, try and get back in. And we're glad to have you here. We've got a whole bunch of new programs coming up in January, and more great things to come. And yeah, so if you get the chance, send me a message. Private programming, video, internet programming, one-on-ones, or group training. We've got it all here at Gladiator Strength and Conditioning.